last 3 weeks, we have looked at the impact that mindset has had on our personal performance, the difference between a growth and a fixed mindset, strategies for developing a growth mindset, and the impact that your mindset has on those you lead. It's a lot of mindset. Armed with this information, have you started to notice any changes in how you're thinking about or approaching new opportunities? Remember that step one for any improvement is a commitment to higher levels of self-awareness. So, becoming more aware of your mindset and making conscious choices to think about things in a different way is completely under your control. This week, we're going to move on to communication, which is another foundational building block of peak performance. We are social creatures, and being able to communicate effectively with others is an important skill in building solid relationships. It is having solid and deep relationships that increases our personal well-being, as well as contributes to both personal and team performance. In fact, research has shown that positive interpersonal relationships is a critical factor in creating high levels of personal and team performance. So let's break down what communication is. Communication can be both verbal and nonverbal. It can include both more than one person as well as what you say to yourself, which is known as self-talk. This week, though, we're going to focus on interpersonal communication. Now, this may seem basic, but hold tight. I'm just laying the foundation. Developing strong relationships and communicating effectively when everything is going well and there is no stress is easy. But what happens in challenging times when stress is higher or when you need to deliver news or feedback that is not welcomed? Some individuals may try to skirt the issue or soften the blow by not communicating directly and honestly, which leads to issues that do not get resolved. Other individuals may be more direct, but not follow the rules of supportive communication, which can lead to defensiveness by those on the receiving end. When an individual is on the defensive, they feel threatened and go into self-preservation mode, guaranteeing that any listening is all but gone. This is where having the skills of supportive communication is helpful. Here are the elements of supportive communication. The first is congruency. This means that your verbal and nonverbal communication has to match. Now, if a teammate makes a mistake and you say, "It's okay, next time," but your face says differently, maybe you roll your eyes or the tone of your voice implies frustration, do you think that your teammate really believes that it's okay? Of course not. So making sure that both your verbal and nonverbal communication is in alignment is important for effective communication. The second component is descriptive. Vague communication leaves a lot open to interpretation, and the interpretation or the meaning that they give to that communication will be based on their past experiences. An individual who has a history of coaches or leaders always yelling or criticizing will interpret vague feedback, even if it's constructive, differently than someone who has had a history of supportive leaders. The third component is that there is a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative communication. We are wired for survival, and because of this, we store what we perceive to be negative or threats more strongly than we do positive experiences. Research has shown that it takes 3 positive statements to neutralize 1 perceived negative one. Because of this, it's important to build up a bank of positive communication with those that you have relationships with. When you are in a position to deliver constructive feedback or news that the other person may perceive as negative, you already have a positive foundation built. It's important to keep in mind that positive communication doesn't have to be purely compliments. It can be something like remembering your coworker's mother was ill and taking the time to ask her about it. It is in these small moments that strong relationships are built. The fourth component is that it is problem-oriented rather than person-oriented. When delivering feedback or communication, make sure that the words you are using focus on problems and solutions of specific behaviors, rather than the personal attributes of the individual that you're speaking with. Avoid using the word "you" when providing feedback, as this can result in defensiveness. And the fifth and final is to consider the timing of the communication. If someone just experienced a poor performance or is under heightened stress, they are a lot less likely to receive feedback, even if constructive. If possible, wait until that person is in a more neutral state and then communicate that feedback. Okay, that's a lot of information, so I will end this lesson here. Next week, I will be providing a very simple but powerful feedback model that you can use to both give and receive feedback. In the meantime, this week, I would love for you to work on building your relationship bank accounts and be generous with your positive communication for those people in your life. All right, have a great day.